Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to do a demonstration on how to install a child safety seat. So what we're going to work with today is an even flow child carrier. And what this is this is a removable seat with a base that gets mounted in the vehicle. This is something that would be pretty common that most people are going to have and use for when they have a child that they're going to bring home. And the way that this thing works is that there's actually a seat here, and then there's a base on the bottom that you can see here. And they actually detach by a little gray lever on the back here. If I lift up, this base will come off. And this base is what gets mounted to the vehicle. There's a couple different ways that this will have to be put in. And what we're going to do today is show you how to properly install this and then set the seat so that it'll be safe for little ones. So before we install this, I just want to go over a couple key features on this. So the seat base, and for seats in general, typically they have a life expectancy of about 6 years. Some manufacturers may say that they can go 8 or 10 years depending on the seat. That's primarily because of the retaining straps and the belts that are used not only for the seat base but also for the seat itself. The seat belts in these are actually a little bit different in design than what you would have in an automotive vehicle, and they're only stating that they should last about 6 to 10 years depending on the manufacturer, but use 6 years as kind of your ballpark. Typically there's going to be an expiration date. So on this one, so this is just a training model seat. You can actually see where it was made. You can see the date that it was from. So it's, you know, September 4th of 2018 is the age on this. But we're also going to be able to look at on the side of this. This actually has a couple little pieces here on how you're supposed to strap this in. So we're going to go through two different setups. And one is going to be what they call the latch system, and then we're going to go through the regular seatbelt system in the vehicle. Okay, so what I want to show you now is part of the latch system. So the latch system is lower anchors and tethers for children. And what that does is that actually gives solid mounting points in the vehicle for safety seats. So any vehicle that was built after September of 2001 is required by federal regulations to have these. So the easiest way to find them is to actually look at the back of the seats, and you'll see a little insignia here. And what that is the actual indication of where the latch anchors will go. So underneath here you can see that there's this little metal bar, one on either side. And what that does is that allows you to connect the seat anchoring system to the vehicle. So just to show you a little better, if you lift up the seat, you can see that's what this little piece is here. It actually goes down solid to the floor on both sides. So that's what they call your lower position anchor. And then up on the top, this is where you have a couple different styles. So you may have one that looks like this, which is a tether strap, and there'll be one on either side of the vehicle, and there'll also be one in the center, and I'll show you guys how to set those up in just a few moments. Just to show you on another vehicle, so we have upper latches. So unlike those tethers, there's actually covers here that will fold down, but you'll see it has that same kind of latch insignia, and it has another same style tether there. And I just want to show you again on another vehicle. So this is an SUV. So again, those tethers are on the bottom, same insignia, but the tether for the other on the back is actually up on the roof. So for a forward facing seat, it's actually going to have a tether up here on the roof. So the next piece I want to show you is the actual vehicle seatbelt itself. So this seatbelt is like any other normal seatbelt that you would be aware of, but there's kind of a hidden feature that most people don't know. Is if you pull the seatbelt all the way out, it'll come to a point where it stops. And what happens is once you start to let it go back in, you can hear this ratchet noise. So that ratcheting is actually a locking mechanism that prevents the seatbelt from unspooling again until you get to a certain point where the seatbelt's fully retracted in again. We'll release it. What's nice about that feature is it allows you to actually put pressure on the seat if, for say, the vehicle doesn't have a latch system, or if you don't have the latch anchor strap on the seat, you can use the regular seat belt in the vehicle to do the job for you. So you can let this keep going in and you can adjust the tension. And we'll do that in just a minute. All right, so now that we know a little bit about the anchors, let's mount the base. So this is what they're going to call a rearward facing seat. So what that means is the seat is going to come up like this and the child's face is going to be facing the rear seat. Inside of here, there's actually some tethers. So some they may be bolted into the seat, some they may be removable like this, but it always has a clamp very similar to this. And there's also another design that I can show you right now. This right here, this is that newer style anchor point. So it's actually got a little quick release here, kind of like a regular seat belt. This is a little bit easier to put in there and take off. Again, most newer seat systems are going to come with this. That other design is also something that we use in other styles of seats that we'll use later on in this video. Then if we go in the back of the vehicle, in the back of the seat is actually a tether there where you'd come up through the seat for some of that tethering as well. So in order to put this in, what you want to do is, just like any other kind of belt buckles, you want to try to pull this back, and then you'll relieve some of the tension and you'll allow this to relax so that we can have a little bit extra room to work with. And what you want to make sure is when you're putting these in is that these tethers are attached to these anchor plates correctly. So the way that I'm going to anchor this in is, if you push over on top of the seat, you can kind of get it to come over, and then it will fall into place and lock on. So I want that little retainer to be fully locked around it, and I want this to be fully seated around that anchor plate. Once I have one side in, I'm going to make sure that my seat belt is straight. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side, where I'm going to have the smooth side facing up, push it in till it latches. And then all you want to do is you want to take any of the slack out of the belt. You want to make sure that the belt lays flat on the seat base itself. And then you want to pull this tight. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to make sure that I pull this nice and tight and have my seat belt flat, and then this seat base shouldn't rotate or move around. You can push on it hard enough that it will move a little bit, but that's okay. You just don't want this to be flopping around all over the place. So with this seat belt nice and flat all the way around, the transition's nice, and this is tight. Now we're going to check the fitment of the seat itself. So with this seat, I'm going to take the leading edge right here, and this is actually going to go under this little hook here. So I'm going to go in first, and then I should be able to snap the seat down and in. Now some seats will actually have a level that may be on the side of it, and there'll be an adjuster on the back side of the seat to pick up or down the seat to change the up and down height. So like this, as this is just a training seat, it doesn't have that, but you want to keep note that you want to try to make sure that the level is level with the vehicle. So when you're trying to do this and put it in, you want to make sure that the car is parked on a level ground so that you can see where you're at. And if it didn't have a level, you can also look like this. Seat itself has a little level piece here, so you can, use a regular like carpentry level or something along those lines, but you want to try to make sure that that's level, because if you look at the seat has actually got this upward tilt to it. So depending on the seat back, the design of the seats in any of these vehicles, you may have to adjust the seat base itself to accommodate the insert so that the child is at the proper angle. So this right here, this is the new style level. So this is for what they call a rear facing level for seats. So if this seat was used for rear facing, you'd use this, but if it's for forward facing, you actually have to manipulate the seat a little bit different. So with this in, now what we want to do is I want to show you how to do it with the vehicle's seat belt and not the latch system. So the other way to do this is you actually will take and position the seat belt of the vehicle through these loops, and what that will do is that will start to actually hold this seat in. So if you pull the seat belt out far enough that you can work with it, and if you just kind of roll out and pinch the belt, it just makes it easier to kind of snake it through. And I'm just going to take it under and over. I'm just going to lock it into the seat belt buckle itself. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the top part, because what that's going to do now is that's going to make the seatbelt tight around the bottom. And then what I can do now is I can pull the seatbelt all the way out until it stops and we get that ratchet noise. And I'm going to let that keep going in. And then what I'm going to really do is I'm going to take my hand, I'm going to push in the center of this seat as hard as I can and push it down, and I'm going to pull that seatbelt tight. And what happens now is now that seat is locked in again, and you don't have to use these tethers. You can use the actual factory supplied pieces. So if you had a damaged piece or it was missing, you can still do this. And the seat is going to go back in the same way. I'll show you that real quick. So again, just take that leading edge underneath that hook, and then you should be able to latch that into place. And it's going to do the same as it would with the tether, but now you're using the factory supplied seat belt. So you just want to make sure that that stays tight. You always want to check these things periodically. I always say to people to try to check it at least once a week, just to make sure that everything's nice and tight and nothing isn't loosened up over the course of a few days. All right, for the forward facing, I'm just going to show you what it looks like with a regular car seat. This happens just to be a Graco 4-in-1 conversion seat. So we're going to have this set up so that it will be forward facing, just to show you a couple different tether anchors and how they work. So a very similar process of how we do the base with the other seat, but this is one whole assembly. So again, we have our new style tethering system. So it has a quick release latch system so that you can hook onto the seat. There's actually a quick release belt system, so if I push on that button I can release it. Initially what I want to try to do is I want to have the seat lay into the factory seat as much as possible. So you actually have a couple different adjustments on these, and there's usually a little pull tab in the front to be able to rotate this base so that you can get it seated properly. And with the seat in this vehicle at this level 6, this is pretty much the appropriate way to do this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do my latch system, and I'm going to put it in. So just remember, the bigger side goes up, so make sure I lock it in, and you're going to hear it. I'll go over and do the other side. Now with those in place, we'll move on to the top tether. And what the top tether is for is so that if you did get into an accident or you got to brake quickly, the seat doesn't tilt forward. So the top tether is going to hold the top of the seat to the vehicle so that it doesn't roll forward on you. So we're going to get that in place first. I'm going to get that snug, and then we'll come back and we'll finish tighten up the lower part of the seat so everything's nice and in place. All right, so you can see here on the back of the seat I have a tether. It's got that old style clip just like we saw with the other seat. You'll notice that this tether comes through the topmost part of the seat, excluding the headrest, because the headrest is actually movable, so the main seat frame. And this, we're going to do the same kind of principle. We're going to take it, but we're going to go through the headrest. So it's got these metal supports in the headrest. We do have a tether on that side, but what happens is if you do the one too close to the seat, you actually can't get it tight. So what you have to do is you come all the way over, and we're going to try to attach it to this one first. So this vehicle is going to have a couple of them, so we're going to have one here, and we're going to see if that might be short enough to be able to tighten this up. If not, let's come over to the other side and do the one over here. All right, so what I'm going to do, just to show you how to route this tether, is I'm just going to I unwound it a little bit so I can come through the headrest and go right around the metal post And what I'll do is I'll pull this seat belt through, and what I could do is I could attach it to this tether, but it'll be a little bit too long by the time I get to the end of it, where this buckle is going to be touching up against the seat. You really don't want to do that. But what's nice about this vehicle is it's got a couple little hooks here where I can kind of come in and I can hook it right there. So we'll put that in there first. I'll make sure that I can get to my tether cable. I'm just going to make sure I put my lower latch piece back on. And then what we have to do is actually load the seat. So I'm going to take up any slack that I can from the seat itself for this top tether. And I'm just going to push the seat in so that it's pretty stable and flat against the back. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to almost sit inside the seat and put some weight on it so that I can pull on the strap to get it as tight as possible. And once those are tight, you should be able to take the seat, try to give it a wiggle, and it shouldn't move at all. And all your straps should be nice and tight, and you should be good to go. And there you have it, guys. 2 different styles of child seats installed. One a rearward facing child carrier, and one a forward facing full seat. Again, thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful for you guys. If you do ever have any questions trying to install car seats, you can always refer to your local police or fire department. They do have trained personnel that are there that can help you install these at any time. Again, thank you again. Have a great day.